First, I would like to just kind of talk about our role as a physical therapist in pediatrics. And I think that depends maybe on what your Patrick practice setting is. Um, but first and foremost, we want to make sure that we are empowering the parents and the caregivers that we're working with. Because, of course, just like an adult session, we are only working with our kiddos, our clients, for an hour a week, if that. I mean, perhaps you might be seeing them 2 or 3 hours a week, potentially after some sort of injury or maybe some sort of acute situation going on with maybe they had a stroke or there's something active going on. But if you typically are seeing children in the early intervention realm or in the school districts, you are seeing these kids once a week, if that. I've got some kiddos on my caseload twice a month. So I need to get my parents to be on board, and I need my parents to be my hands all the rest of the time. So why am I not encouraging that same level of participation in my sessions? Well, I am, even if I am in home session or in the clinic, I am sure you're probably inviting your parents into the session, if not for the whole session, maybe for the end of it. Communicating with the parents what they can do, but very few times will the parents actually take the lead and get hands-on with the children that I'm working with. And I don't know, this may be, I think it's really a fear from the families of that, hey, you are, um, you are the therapist, so why don't you just do it? All right, hold on here. I'm gonna stop sharing this for 1 second just so I can go back to see what's going on. Okay, awesome. Okay. So yeah, so I mean, like, I think as a therapist, we like to have that control. Oh, okay, gosh darn it. Black here, black here. Oh. Anyway, so we need to have our families on board, and so we're just going to do it from here so I can see what you guys are doing. Otherwise, if I come back into my other screen, you won't be able to see anything. I think it just goes black. So we need to have that coaching model, and I guess I'll just have to advance it and then come back to here. But depending on where your practice setting is, so if you're in a hospital or in a clinic, you're more used to that medical model. You're more used to having an impairment and working directly with the child on that particular impairment. When they meet their goals, you discharge them. In the early intervention realm, you're having this coaching model, and you are now really working much more on what the family is viewing as their needs, and you're working on that with them as far as where meeting your family where they're at, meeting the parents where they're at. So a lot of times your goal as a therapist has nothing to do with what actually or little to do with what the parents actually want to work on. Of course, you are still working on physical therapy goals, but it's all under the guise of, or in the idea of, you are helping the parent support the child, and you're working on those goals from the IFSP. And so I tend not to solely do either a medical model, either a coaching model. I really think what would be best serving the child and the family is to kind of have a hybrid approach um, between the coaching model and between the medical model. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm going to go back and advance the slide here. So it might go back for 1 second. Whoops, here we are. All right. So in telehealth, we have the ability to really create a new sense of safety for the kids that we're working with. We need to be in this calm and alert state for new learning to take place. Absolutely. And this is true whether we are 100 years old or 1 years old. Um, okay, good. All right, awesome. So whether you're 100 years old or 1 years old, we need to be in this calm and alert state. And what do I mean by that? If you're feeling safe, if you are feeling okay, you're going to be able to access your cognitive brain. And like this is a perfect example for me right now of me not being able to access my cognitive brain. So so as I am trying to navigate this very new world of sharing my screen in Facebook, I was not being very successful and freaking out a little bit because I couldn't figure out how to do this. So even if I'm like trying to check on my phone what's happening and talk to you guys on the live, I am not in a very calm state. I'm getting kind of panicky and not able to really think about what I want to say. So thankfully I have my my PowerPoint here to guide me back to that. So, when you feel a threat, you're going to kind of go into a reflexive state of self-protection. And my self-protection is freezing. So in general, if I am met with a threat, you're going to know that I am not feeling okay because I'm going to freeze. I'm going to stop looking at you. And other people might go into more of a state of fleeing. And we see this all the time in clinic and in home with the kids that we work with, that they try to avoid whatever we're doing. So that's a big clue that they are not in calm and alert, because they are okay, I'm just reading the comments. Okay. And so telehealth automatically can help foster that perception of safety, because if the child is having difficulties with their interpersonal sense, with how well they handle me in their space, or how well they handle, maybe even from an intuitive sense, how well they handle being in my clinic, if that's not something that's feeling safe for them, they are not going to be in calm and alert, and they're not going to show me everything that they know. So online, for some kids, I'm not going to say for everyone, but for a lot of kids, that interpersonal sense is no longer a threat to them. That intuitive sense of being in a strange space is no longer a threat for them. And so I can get children online to do things for me that I never get to do with them in the home. And I'll talk about an example here in a minute. But I think I would ask you, have you ever had a time when you were in the home or in a clinic, and even with the parent right there, the child is still not working for you? They're not, they're hiding behind mom or dad. They won't make eye contact with you. Maybe they're crying. Maybe they're screaming. Like there's nothing that you can do. You're singing a song to them. You're acting all silly. It doesn't matter. They're gone. And so, we have different strategies to work around that situation. One strategy that I have is if I'm in the home, I'm actually going to leave the room that the family is in and go into their kitchen, maybe peek behind the wall. I have done treatment sessions behind the couch. I have done treatment sessions, hiding behind the kitchen chair, so that the child is not feeling like threatened by me. And obviously I'm not doing anything dangerous to them. I'm not even putting my hands on the child at this point. But just my presence in the room is throwing them off. So online, all of that is non-existent. One example is I have a little girl that I work with for early intervention twice a month. And, she's she's walking. She's 22 months. Um, she had a hard time going up and down stairs. I can tell right away that, she has a lot of primary reflexes that are not well integrated for her, which is what is making her not be able to coordinate her body as easily as she would like to. And so she's moving through straight planes, coming up through either through plantigrade or just kind of going from a squat to stand, never using trunk rotation, never going through half kneel and more mature body movements. And when I try to have her do some of these more mature body movements in the home, even in a play, we're playing with kitchen toys or we're playing with puzzles, she is screaming. I cannot get her to even sit calmly for me. And I tell mom what to do with her. And again, mom, when I leave the house, mom can't figure out how to get her to do this. So we had our first online session about 2 weeks ago because of all of this. And very first session, I get her to reach across her body to both sides to grab the puzzle piece and hand it back to mom. And, we're modifying the session, we're modifying the position a little bit, but this is something that I've been working on with her for the past 6 weeks and nothing. So here we are, the first session online, and I get her to do what I want her to do, all because she has this perception of safety. And I'm able to problem solve right there with the mom exactly what to do so that mom knows. And if mom's struggling with something, I can give that suggestion right there, right then of what mom needs to do. So, yeah, I mean, it's like evident to me. It's so cool. I get so excited watching these families be able to work with their kids in a way that they've never been able to work with them before, in a way that I've never been able to work with them before. And it's not because I am, causing danger to the child, but it's that perceived threat. I'm going to change slides, so if the screen goes black for a second, just hang tight. Okay, so another amazing thing that we can do using the live video visits is be this all-present observer. So I'm sitting there watching the child, watching the parent play with the child, and watching the child and watching the parent play with the child, and I can really observe a lot of things that I may have missed in the session. Because in the session, I'm worried about my handling skills, or I'm worried about, where the child's positioned or whatever, and I'm really focused on what I'm doing. And when I'm watching a telehealth session, I can be focused on what the child is doing. And I can be focused on how the parent is helping the child. And I can notice so many more things than I notice in an in-person session. And if you've never had that experience before, it's kind of a hard thing to conceptualize how you can actually notice more watching a video screen, but I tell you that you can. Now, some people will say, oh, well, if they're moving really fast, you don't get to see all the movement, the quality of the movement. Well, okay, then slow it down, or see if you can take a screen capture, which we'll talk about. Or, maybe it is their bandwidth. They need to try to get to a hardwire connection or turn down other Wi-Fi devices so that you can get more bandwidth going to the video. But ways that in the session, I'll use a physical notepad to jot down some notes. Sometimes I feel like a speech therapist. Speech therapists are really good at jotting down number of trials, and I'm always jealous in home when the speech therapist has their little notepad, and I'm like, I cannot do that because I'm right there with the child, facilitating everything. But here online, I get to have that ability to take really good notes, number of trials of how they do, which side is working harder, and maybe, when the child starts to lose the position or starts to go past their window of tolerance for a particular input. So you can make the video screen larger, and so you can see them better. You can also use screen capture. So depending on what device you're using, of course, you can just take a screenshot, or I'm using a Mac, so I've got to use my control option 3, I think is what it is, or shift option 3 to take my screen capture. And that's what I did here for this little guy. I was going to annotate my screen, but I can't do that here in Facebook. But if we were doing a position, I can pull this screenshot that I just took with the family up into the session, and I can instruct right off of that screenshot. So I'll annotate the screen in Zoom or whatever platform you're using, and I'll draw on the screen showing the family where I want them to position the child, or what we should move, or maybe really pay attention to this area of the body next time, so the family can see now what they just did. Okay. And of course, if you can record your sessions, do it. I mean, it just depends on your particular platform. It depends on if you're able to store it up into a cloud. Of course, we don't want to be saving any sort of sessions on our personal computers. Depending on the state that you're in, you may have some actual guidelines to follow for that. I know in the state of Colorado, I need to get any sort of recordings uploaded into a secure cloud within 48 hours. So I don't typically do a lot of videos, but if you did use it, maybe you're going to watch it back after the session so that you can see something and then delete it. That you could do that. I think the recordings can be a very valuable tool for teaching the parents, but this screen capture can also be a very powerful tool for teaching parents as well. Okay, I'm going to advance my slides. So I don't think I can do it. Yeah, I can't do it from here. Okay, so, all right. So some session enhancers. So here, I have to laugh. I'm trying to be all slick here with my slideshow, and I can't get this up and running for you guys. But I made this earlier today, and I'll be happy to share this with you. There are a couple of videos I embedded in here, so I guess I would just ask for the privacy of the family. They did give to share these videos with you guys, but please don't share the videos out with anybody else. So I'll post this up in the files, but if you could please respect the family of the privacy of the family, and not share this out with anybody else who's outside of this group. But you can have a link here. There's different games you can share. We can screen share whiteboards. I use a whiteboard to play a game like tic-tac-toe, or even to make like a visual schedule of what we're going to do. I'll share screen games. Yeah, absolutely give you guys the slides, not a problem. I'll share some screen games. What would you do for physical therapy in a game? Well, I would use it kind of as a reward. So you could have, some sort of learning game, or some sort of game from pbskids.org, or wherever you find your games already up on your in the application. And then as a reward, after the child does X number of repetitions, they can play the game. And how do they play a game? Well, that just depends on what kind of device you're using. If you are using a laptop, you'll be able to most likely give control to the family as long as they're on any sort of device other than a phone. And so give control to the family, then the child can actually control your screen. Well, that may or may not be something that you want. So an alternative to that would be that you just have the child tell you what you want, what they want you to do, so that can serve some speech goals there if they have to tell you what to do. This little link here is to a wheel that I put some yoga poses on, and you just spin the wheel, and then that would be what the kid does. So you could really, on that particular website, you can put in whatever you want. You can do a whole bunch of exercises. There's also a dice apps or dice websites that you can come to that they can click on it and then they can do however, the exercise however many times. So you can share YouTube videos. I use Just Dance Kids all of the time. The kids can pick the song that they want, and then either we'll do like a Simon Says game, or we'll do a sequence game, or I'll just have them simply imitate me, and then they love it when I imitate them. So they love, of course, they want to be the leader, right? So that's the way you can use some YouTube videos. Cosmic Kids would be another one. Go Noodle. For parents, for like the younger kids, or if I want to talk about a particular product, I'll pull up in Google Images or go right to the website on Amazon or Target or whatever and pull up the exact product that I'm interested in having them buy or that I would recommend. I did this the other day for a family. Really the only infant toy that I recommend is like the Leapfrog learning table with the 4 legs, because you can use it for so many different things. And so I was just wanting to show the family what that was. And so I brought up the slide of the Leapfrog learning table, and I showed them, annotated the screen and drew it on there how the child would use it. So, bringing up product videos is a great, or product pictures is a great thing. I will say that never crossed my mind to do in an in-person session before I started doing telehealth. So since I started doing telehealth and kind of using this share screen in this way, I have now gone back into my in-person sessions, and used some of the strategies or just different techniques that I use online. So I don't know why I've never decided to pull up an image of a muscle or whatever, or a skeleton, and draw on my screen on my iPad in person. But now I do that all the time. Oh, is my voice cutting out? I'm sorry. Technical problems. All my devices are off. I've got 3 kids though, so I'm sorry. All right, let's keep going. Oh, books. I'll read books too. So you can pull up a book. I just downloaded books today, 30 days free trial, and you can read through the book that way, or I'll take screenshots of pictures and just read through the book that way. That's really nice for the younger kids, especially if you're working with speech therapy or an early childhood special educator, because you can help show the parent how to read the book. You'd be surprised, of course, how many families can't read the book, or can't read a book, don't know how to read a book, right? So we can show them how to emphasize certain words, and that's a really powerful tool as well. All right, I'm going to advance my slide. So I have no idea if you're going to be able to see this or not. I really hope you can. So best of luck here. Let's see if this works. All right, Calvin, do you have a puzzle there with you? Let me see that puzzle.
You're going to do your clock puzzle?
Yeah. Cool. If you guys can scoot back maybe about 4 scoots.
Okay, come here. Come here, buddy. Right here. Yes.
I love your singing, Calvin.
Is that the one you want to do? Yeah. Okay. Can you come sit
sit down next to Mom so I can see you. Okay, so let's take out all the pieces of the puzzle.
You take them all out?
We'll put some to Mom's right side and some to Mom's left side. It'd be great. Yeah, you can put them all the way on the floor for me, Kelly. Some to your right side and some to your left side.
Okay.
A cow.
Oh, good. Cow.
Can you put some over here?
Nice.
How about the pig? Put it over here. Put the pig over here.
Very good.
What's that?
Nice.
What about this one?
What's
The
that?
duck?
What's that?
It's the puzzle.
The puzzle's making noise.
Yes.
What's chicken going here?
Oh, the chickens do go in the coop. Can you take out the sheep?
Where?
Where's the sheep? Can you put it right here?
Where? What?
Okay.
What?
Now, Mr.
Okay, cool. Let's see. We'll get started by reaching over to your left side. Can you twist and go toward your left side for me?
There we go.
Awesome.
Pick up the pig.
It's way away.
Where does
That was great twisting and reaching. Yeah, I like how you're twisting and reaching.
Where's that going?
The next one, we're going to go to your right side, Calvin. Find something on the right side.
Is that?
right over here?
Which
Which one? The horse?
Is that? There you go.
Good job.
Where's doggy go?
The doggy?
Yeah.
Where does the dog go?
It's there.
Now watch me, Calvin, when you're ready for the next piece.
Okay.
That's my baby. My baby's going to twist her body and reach across. Can you twist? Watch baby. Twist and reach.
So she try to get it with this hand.
Mm-hmm.
Can you grab the cow with this hand? Grab the cow. Try.
Good job. Yeah.
Where does the cow go? Good job.
Nice. There you go, man. You got it.
You do it. Good job. That's the farmer.
You're doing. You're doing.
Let's go back the other way. Find a piece on your left side. That's easy there, huh?
Yep, the chickens.
So I think like that example, I just wanted to kind of talk through what I do. You know, the parents are my hands, and so there's a couple of different ways you can work that when you're giving an activity. One way would be to do sports casting, and I put that at the bottom because I typically don't do that. I don't really give a play-by-play of everything that's happening. You could. You could though, and some parents might want that type of feedback. I find that to be very distracting for the parent to give that level of feedback. Also, if you happen to have a little bit of a delay with your audio and visual, it is very distracting to have that happen. So what I generally do is I'll observe the child and see what they're going to naturally do, and from there, I'll maybe give one or two pointers, you know, or I'll stop the activity, give some feedback to the parent, and I'll always start with the strengths, right? But see, none of this is different than an in-person session. So if you were going to give a parent some feedback, this is exactly what you would do in person too. You would start with their strengths. You would provide feedback, one or two things that you would like them to focus on the next time, and you would review your main objective, and then they would try it again. And, you know, practice makes perfect, not only for the family, but also for the child. And practice makes perfect. I laugh at that because that's really not the best. Practice makes perfect, like trying to find that just right balance. Where is that child at? Now, he did a really nice job. Once mom showed him once or twice what to do, Calvin was able to do it on his own. So that was really cool to see. If that didn't happen, then I would have had to kind of back it up from there. And the nice thing about online sessions, about telehealth sessions, is I am in no rush. I don't have to get through 5 different activities, nor do I have to get through 5 different activities in an in-person session either. But maybe I feel like I have to. I don't know. I think that there's this perception that I need to be doing more because I'm the one doing everything. But, you know, let that go. Let that control go. And the more you can feel comfortable, I talked about earlier, you know, being calm and alert. We as therapists also have to be calm and alert in our sessions, and we have to feel like it's okay not to be in control. If that bothers you, not to have control, that's something to kind of look at. Like, why? Why do you need to be in charge? Because are you afraid that the parent won't do it right? Again, the parents is with the kid 99% of the time. We need to have the parent do it right. So, so anyways, I hope that that example was, you know, it was a pretty good clip of what I do and how I just really play. In fact, if you're new to telehealth and you're unsure about how to make this happen, I would highly recommend that you just watch. That you just, you know, pick a skill or an activity that you know the child can do pretty well, that they've done with you multiple times, and it's pretty easy with that for them, and just let the parent, just watch the parent and child play. Okay, so we're gonna watch one more quick video here, and let me go over there. This is my end of my session here, kind of a recap.
Okay.
All right, so you did a super job today, Calvin.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did a lot of things. Let's see, what did we do? We put the puzzle together, right?
Yeah.
Your farm animals. And so that's going to be something you're going to work on. I want to see you twisting your body. When you twist your body to the left, you're going to hold yourself up on your arm so you can reach. And when you twist to the right, yeah, when you twist to the right, you're going to use your other hand to get your
Everywhere. It's like that.
Yeah, just like
okay?
Cool.
Twist.
twist. Yeah.
There we go. Awesome job. Yeah, that's perfect. So we're going to practice twisting across our body to get our toys. Then the other thing we're going to practice is with that drumstick or with mom's hand, you're going to practice holding onto it really strong. And we're going to count to 7.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
7, 8. Wow. Yeah, that was super. You know what, Calvin? I like that you use both hands at the same time. I thought that was really cool.
Can you do it again? Both hands.
1,
2.
2, 3,
Yeah. Oh, good job. Well, be careful. We don't want to hit mom in the face.
Okay.
Okay, no, we don't want to.
No, we don't. No. So those are going to be your 2 exercises, and then I'll give mom the massages. Okay. Okay. So yeah. So that's I just like to do a recap afterwards. Sometimes I'll pull up a share screen and I'll type it out. I'm always keeping notes, so at the end I do provide the parent with a session recap. However, I typically communicate with them, whether it's text or email. I'll go ahead and write out what we do. The company that I work for, we use an app called PT Pal. And so I can upload all of the exercises that I want the family to do into their portal in their app, and then they have access to that. So, you know, it is really nice to do some sort of session recap. It's important for me too as a therapist. It helps me kind of decide what I want to do the next session. So I'm, you know, again, jotting down notes and putting it on my paper calendar, because I still use a paper calendar, of what I want to focus on for the next session. So it's right there, fresh in my brain. I know what to check in with the family next time, you know, what they were doing. So, so a session recap is, you know, really important, but it is as well as in an in-person session. So, so I guess like the biggest takeaway here from my standpoint is whatever fears or doubts you have about going online and working telehealth, and maybe you've already had some sessions now because we are a couple of weeks into this pandemic. If you're still feeling unsure about that, take a look and see how comfortable you are about releasing control. And what do you need to do to communicate with the parent better, or to identify where the parent is? Because like I said earlier, the parent, the caregiver, they are your hands. They are who you're communicating to. And if they don't understand what you're trying to get across or why you're asking them to do something, they're going to have some buy-in. So we have a question here from Sarah. Do you have any tips for behavioral management with parents that have a difficult time with control over their child? Well, again, I would ask you, what do you do in the clinic, or what do you do in home? And so your answer to what you do online is not that far off. It may look a little bit different, but it's not that far off. So 1, give the child some choices. 2, have a very structured session. Match the online session to the same kind of flow as the in-person session of what the child is used to. So if in an in-person session, if you typically if you are typically starting your session with a song and doing a game and then doing a puzzle, whatever you typically do, maybe you practice stepping over obstacles, maybe every single session you swing in the blanket, whatever it is, go ahead and manage or structure your telehealth session the same. One-to-one correspondence or one-to-one trial training. I do a lot of that in home for my kiddos who have a hard time doing multiple activities or multiple repetitions. So I'll actually start with the preferred activity. And so, talking with the family about what the preferred activity might be. Maybe taking a magic carpet ride in a laundry basket or on a blanket, or jumping or bouncing on mom's lap. Whatever the preferred activity is, go ahead and start with that, and then go ahead and do one trial of the more difficult activity, and immediately go right back to the preferred activity. So I know this sounds a little bit ABA-ish, and I guess it is kind of that structure of reward activity. And then as the child increases its tolerance for the more challenging activity, of course, then you can maybe sneak in 2 trials before you give them their reward. Maybe the reward is as simple as a high five or a knuckles, or like I said, you can play a game with them using your share screen. Maybe it's the fact that you show them a picture of an animal. So whatever's motivating for the child, I would start with that motivation and then go back to that one trial. The other thing I would say is in home too, I do this all the time. The rule of N-1 or N-2, meaning I am confident that this child can perform this skill 4 times. All right, I know that they can do that, but they're already showing me that they're getting kind of antsy and that maybe I'm pushing them to their limit. So I'm gonna, even though I'm pretty sure that they can do this 4 times, I'm gonna only ask that they do it 2 times. And then when we get those 2 times done, nice big praise, nice reward, perhaps I might be able to get them to do it 1 more time with me again. But if I demand that they do it the 4 times and I make that happen, whether I'm in home or I'm in a telehealth session, that's just gonna end badly. And I don't want it to end badly, right? I do want to be in control in the sense that what I say is what I say, and I'm gonna stick to that limit. And if I give them an expectation that is too high, well, again, it's just going to end badly. And that's no different in home than online. The other thing I would say is set up a defined space. So a lot of times I will encourage the families to have a yoga mat or a blanket, and that is the defined space. And then when I have them set up their camera, I didn't have it for Kelvin and Kelly, but I totally could have. I have them set up their camera so that they can see that entire space in their camera when they're right there. So then when they go and sit down 5 feet, 6 feet away from the camera, I know and they know that as long as they stay right on that carpet square or the yoga mat or the blanket, that I'll be able to see everything that they do. And I set up my area the same way. And so I'll encourage the child to come back to the stage, or whatever name you want to call it, whatever they're comfortable with. The last thing I'll say, and again, this is a strategy that I use in the in-home session, and maybe some of the therapists who work in clinic might use this, is a pass. So I will have a pass in home. I usually use a luggage tag that says pass. And for those kiddos who are really antsy or who feel like they get uncomfortable, I'll encourage the child to come back to the stage, or whatever name you want to call it, whatever they're comfortable with. The last thing I'll say, and again, this is a strategy that I use in the in-home session, and maybe some of the therapists who work in clinic might use this, as a pass. So I will have a pass in home. I usually use a luggage tag that says pass. And for those kiddos who are really antsy or who feel like they get uncomfortable with the exercises and they want to get out of there, I'll have that one pass available to them. And this is based off of a research study with children who like to come into their parents' bed at night. And just the fact of knowing that you have the opportunity to get out and to take a break, the kids will usually stay. So just knowing that they can have that break is enough that maybe they'll ask for it. And then, of course, do you want to have your break now, or do you want to do one more activity? And sometimes I can get them coming with me a couple more times before they take that break. And then if they need that break, all right, you have a 2-minute break, and then we'll come back and continue. So I'll encourage, in fact, this morning I had to do that. I had to, tell the little girl that, and her mom, and I said that'll be one of your assignments, is to make a pass so that you can, or you can call it a ticket or a token or whatever you want to call it, so that if you need a break, you can ask mom for the token. So those are some strategies that I use to help behavioral management. The one-to-one trial seems to be the most effective for me, again, in home and in person. I will say one other thing. So, in home, obviously I can control the situation. And now I need to be very clear with my parents of what I expect the child to do. So the parent's expectation of what this activity is supposed to be about and my expectation of what the activity is supposed to be about are probably two different things. So I need to be very clear with the family, like I was with Kelly, saying that, my goal for this activity is that when he twists to pick up the puzzle piece, that he supports his weight on the same side arm and that he uses the other arm to reach across. I don't care that he chooses the wrong piece. I don't care that he chooses 4 pieces at once. None of that is my concern. My concern is that he bears weight on the arm and reaches across. So, just being very clear with your families of what you're looking at can be helpful too. I can think of a family that I saw in home working on sitting balance with their little girl, and the mom really thought that the little girl had to be doing it independently. And she was not ready to be sitting up independently. And the mom just kept scolding the little girl that she wasn't doing it by herself. And I finally just, I told the mom, this was in Spanish too. So there might be some cultural things there too, of not maybe wanting to help them as much as they need, or maybe fearful of helping them too much. But that it's okay that right now your daughter needs that help, and that's how she's going to be most successful. So just being, letting the parents know, giving them that permission that it's okay right now if the child doesn't do all of the things that we're expecting, but the most important thing is X. And if the child gets up and goes out of the room, the child gets up and goes out of the room. Just calmly give the information to the family of what you want to happen next. Very succinctly explain the next activity. Ask the family to go back and get the child and do that activity. After the activity is over, let the child go. Let them run. There's no need for them to sit there and be bored or cause a commotion. And I'm sure there's other people wondering about siblings, because that's a big topic, what to do with siblings. My first answer would be to have a different caregiver present to be able to watch the siblings. So maybe that means that your sessions are not at the same time as your sessions normally would be, if that is something that you're comfortable with as a therapist. So, I've had to relax a little bit of my boundaries as far as my scheduling goes, just so that I can accommodate a few of those families who do have 4 siblings, or a foster family who has 5 foster kids in the home right now. It's unrealistic to expect that that primary caregiver is going to be able to successfully attend to your session and the other kids. So ideally, there would be another person in the home kind of helping out with the other children. If that is not possible, because sometimes that's not possible, involve the children in the session as much as you can. And that can be with games, with songs. Please go get me a toy. Can you show me the toy? Maybe I'll give them an assignment like, okay, while your brother is doing this exercise, I need you to do 20 push-ups. So make those other kids feel important, because that's what they're wanting. That's why they're vying for your attention. They want to feel like they're important too. So give them something that they can do, and help them have a role, help them feel like they belong in this session. All right, any other questions before we wrap it up here? I'll just wait for another second. Well, I'll do a plug for myself. So I do run a telehealth Facebook group called the Colorado Early Intervention Telehealth Interest Group. And we have a lot of content in there. There's lots of different physical therapists, speech therapists, occupational therapists that you can find on Pinterest and online having courses. There's free courses. Becky Cohill is an occupational therapist who does free courses. She was on that other video with me. But if you're needing some extra help or some one-on-one sessions, check out my pediatric telehealth toolbox, because I think I've got some good things there. I feel like I do. And I'm hoping to grow that more. I've got some classes called Therapist Instant Calm. So some techniques and strategies to help you, because if you are in a calm and alert space, you're going to be able to help your families a lot more. What is the name of it? Oh, sorry. It's called the Pediatric Telehealth Toolbox. Oh, you probably want the Facebook group. The Facebook group is the Early Intervention, or Colorado Early Intervention Telehealth Interest Group. So I have another class called Sensory Motor Interventions, and another one called multidisciplinary intervention. So I'm a really big multidisciplinary therapist, transdisciplinary. I believe in role release. No, I am not a speech therapist. No, I'm not an occupational therapist, but that doesn't mean that I can't help carry out some of the strategies that the therapist has taught the family, or things that I know as far as next steps go. So intervention. Anyway, so, all right. Well, thank you so much for joining me. And you guys have a great night. Thank you again for your patience with me, because I obviously had some technical difficulties earlier. Okay. Do I have you know, I don't right yet. I just opened the school on Saturday, and so I need to do some research on how to get CEUs. Of course, you can always use that for, you know, more of a general class. Let's see. For telehealth evals, the best thing to say to you is to, if you can, use parent questionnaires right now. This is going to be someplace that there's going to be a lot of growth in this area now. So using like a Peabody, you can use a Peabody if you can get everything over there to the family that they need. Otherwise, you're going to just have to write, you know, how it was performed, and it's not going to necessarily meet the standard of validity that the of how they assess, you know, made the test for the normative data. So that's the problem with an assessments online right now. A company like Pearson is doing research with other telehealth companies. One of them that I used to work for called Illuma, which is a fantastic company if you're looking for a job in the telehealth realm for school systems in the fall. They'll be hiring. Illuma is a really top-notch company. I have another friend who works for Tiny Eye, and I have another friend who works for Presence Learning. All really good companies. Let's see. What's my other group? Oh, I've got another group called the Peds Therapy Collective. So that's my multidisciplinary group. All right, I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. Yeah, it's on Teachable. The link I can put it in the notes. So that's surprising that you can't find it there. Bummer. I'll I'll have to do that. All right, fantastic guys. You have a great night.